we're talking about here is making Loreth, the beautiful, in the moat house more interesting, not just killing him off.
Right. He's not even that interesting as a big bad at the end of the game kind of thing. And so I was like, what would make Loreth more interesting? And so Dave and I chatted on the Discord, and we kind of came to the conclusion that Loreth is a quintessential up-and-coming agent of an empire who's got his own agenda and is just enough supporters to make him dangerous to the big boss, so that Hedrak can't get rid of him. And Hedrak's trying to deal with Loreth's ambitions. And Loreth has ambitions. After all, he is a chaotic, evil cleric of Loreth. And so his plans are to basically carve out a piece of the territory of the Temple of Elemental Evil for himself. Right?
Yeah, well, Gary Gygax did quote that Loreth the Beautiful is the dark hope of chaotic evil, young, handsome, well-endowed in abilities and aptitudes, thoroughly wicked, depraved, and capricious. I put that on the screen, by the way.
Yeah. And so I wanted to make him seem that way, right? I wanted him to be more interesting. And so my characters meet up with him, and Loreth has a night, and they meet up with him, and they're like, hey, we know about you, and we got rid of some of your enemies, and we want to work for you. And Loreth is at the first, doesn't trust them, but then he never trusts them, but he realizes that he has now agents he can use to advance his plot. And what's his plot? To get rid of his competitors. And who are some competitors? Why, some Black Earth cultists in Sheernob who have been creating chaos and are trying to seize some of the territory that Loreth believes belongs to him. And so he tells the heroes, spins them a tale that, what he wants from them is to go find a chest, which has been apparently stolen from Urbabank. And so they run to Sheernob. And while in Sheernob, they discover that Palsbury Klee, who's the keeper of the beehives, and let me just say that best supplement ever, Sheernob by Dave, totally worth it. Great content, fantastic content, so many quests. You could go crazy there. Don't try to do them all, just pick some, but and they're all over the place. Like, you have quests to save the world and quests to go hunt down some bouncing vegetables.
What I like about Sheernob is it's within 10 miles of Hamlet.
Yeah, so it's like within walking distance. And if you go fast, it's like 3 hours, 4 hours. It's definitely a distance that could be covered quickly. And so the party, Palsbury Klee, finally, they decide to take up Palsbury Klee's mission to go find her honey. Well, so my party's a couple of rogues and a monk. And when you're a couple of rogues and a monk, the wrong way to use them is to go and tank. Right? And so that is the wrong way. Rush in and stand there and fight melee. You're supposed to use your speed, your ability to dodge, your ability to disengage, to keep your opponents off balance. And so I tried to warn them about this when they decided to pull that party together. I told them, you guys, you cannot go into combat and go toe to toe. And they had just come off a campaign where they had managed to make it to the 20th level in 5th edition. And at 5th edition, 20th level, you're basically Thor.
You can do that in a year, I heard, or 6 months.
Yeah, it's a very different flavor of campaign. It's more like it's about a year's work. Well, it depends, actually. I've done an adventure that took 3 years, and the party didn't make it to level 4 years, actually, and didn't get to 15. Other adventures, you can get to 20th. This one took 3 years. So it's not, you can do it very quickly, though, if you're willing to invest the time.
Which system are you running now for this campaign?
5th edition.
Okay.
There's a lot of other editions that have their pluses and minuses, but the nice thing about 5th edition is that I'm dyslexic. My kid's dyslexic. I have ADD, and the system is so simple that it's easy to run. And there's enough content, and then there's enough automation and tools that make it a lot easier for me. So I like it. There are parts of it I don't like, but I do like it. They all have their pluses and minuses. They all have their styles, and they all encourage different kinds of play.
There's a lot of ways to modify the game too.
And they've got lots of ways to modify the game. But sometimes my players try to use cantrips in ways that I'm like, no, this is not how a cantrip works. And now I've come up with the ultimate statement: the goddess of magic forbids it. You cannot do that.
So why is it that your party came to Sheernob to begin with?
Oh, yeah. So they meet up with, what happened was we did the T0 encounters, right? That was the intro to the temple written by the Greyhawk Gonyard.
Greyhawk Grognard.
Right. He wrote this intro to Hamlet.
Yes.
And so they're going up the road and they encountered one of the towers that were controlled by one of the factions, right? That was controlled by the Water Temple. And they managed to kill everybody and find evidence that these guys were working for the Water Temple, or rather working for some group that claimed to be part of the Water Temple. And so when they showed up to Loreth, they had enough information to know that either Loreth was acting as if he was a member of the cult or was a member of the cult, but they didn't know what he was doing. And they had enough evidence to know there were a bunch of bandits going around pretending to be cultists or were a member of the cult. They didn't have evidence one way or the other. And so their thought process was, we're going to go figure, and they had been told by the various leaders to go figure this out. So they show up there and their thought process was, we're too weak. We can't beat him in a combat, but maybe we can get him to spill the beans.
Yes.
Right. And so they approach him and say, hey, look, we met up. We found this group of bandits who are pretending to be Water Temple folks. And we got rid of them. And now we want to join your organization and want to take over that place. Can you help us? And Loreth first goes, yes, I think that's a great idea. And then says, no, I have a better idea. And he tells them that there is a artifact that was built by the city of Verbabonk as a gift to the kingdom of Selene that had been stolen, and that gift had been stolen by some bandits, and he wanted it back. Right? And that chest was from that other adventure you had mentioned. That was part of the Living Greyhawk campaign. Yeah, the Chest of Beauty.
Okay.
Right. So it was the Chest of Beauty. So, and so they find out that this Chest of Beauty is part of some long-standing attempt by the city of Verbabonk to try to improve relations with the kingdom of Selene.
Right.
The gift of beauty. And so finding this gift is important. And so they're like, and then they also find out from Rufus that finding this gift is important for Rufus. They also happen to be working with lots of people right now. Nobody really knows what their true alliances are. So they show up. What they've been told is go find this Chest of Beauty, right? And they know that it's somewhere near Shurnob among some bandits because that's the last place it was seen. So that's why they end up in Shurnob. While they're there, they're looking around for who to go find, and they learn from Palsbury Clee that there's these Black Earth bandits. These bandits who stole her honey and shouted Black Earth. The other thing they're trying to do is find evidence for the village elders, in particular Kenter, that the cult is back.
Yes.
Right? So they need to find this evidence, right? So they're looking for evidence that the cult is back. The evil temple is back. And so this is the first time where they finally they're encountering members of bandits who are obviously cultists of elemental evil.
You had the Gift of Beauty stolen before they got to Ostford.
Yes.
It sounds like.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
In the original module, it's stolen like a mile away from the Selene border. But that works too. It doesn't really matter, except that Lord Delavue, the Mounted Borderer commander in Ostford, he is one of the quest givers for that quest, but he's not the only quest giver. In fact, the Gift of Beauty is so prominent and so big. It's such a huge event that there are many quest givers for that. A lot of different factions, organizations want that gift back.
Yeah. So we had talked about that, but I needed an excuse to send them off to Shurnob.
Okay. Right? Originally, in the module itself, though, another way to get your players to Shurnob, just to let you guys know, is Maldrib, the son of the elder there. They've been raided by these giants and the Blackthorn orcs, and they need help. They're being overwhelmed. They just can't handle such brutal force, and they're afraid that they're going to lose their gem and silver mines, and they're getting closer and finding these because they're jealously guarded. And so Mildrib, he knows that adventurers often go to the village of Hamlet for adventure, and he's hoping to find a good group of adventurers there to beg them to come to Shurnob to help them out. So that's how that quest starts by the module itself of Living Greyhawk.
So they show up in Shurnob, and they go through a bunch of early quests. So they go to the Honey Tavern Inn and they go hunt down the missing mead. Right after they've done some of these initial quests, Marie Clee reaches out to them and says, "Hey, I've lost some honey," and she tells them that the people who attacked said Black Earth, and so the group says, "Okay, we need to go hunt these guys down." Right? Because this is it. We have found the clue. We're going to get the clue. Right? So they show up And like a lot of adventurers in 5th edition, they kind of assume everything is balanced. And I've warned them that not everything would be balanced. And if you're going to charge into battle and you don't think about how it's going to work, bad things will happen.
Yeah. Well, in traditional 5th edition modules, it's all carefully curtailed and balanced for the adventurer and the players. So that way they succeed in the story arc or whatever they're doing.
Right.
But in old school D&D, the modules, not realism, but they made sure that there was no real balance. Like,
yes.
Well, the reason there's no balance is because one of the legitimate options is running away or thinking outside the box to deal with it. So if you're only first level and you come across an ogre, the ogre is a good chance the ogre will kill you, but there's ways to get around that or deal with it. Or maybe there's too many goblins in that cavern. Like there's 20 goblins that are easily going to swarm and kill all of you. But if you can think outside the box and deal with it, that was the fun of D&D right there. That was one of the reasons why D&D was fun. It's not fun if you're going to each room and there's only like 2 or 3 or 4 creatures balanced for the encounter for you to win. And so all you got to do is go through the motions. Okay, melee round 1, melee round 2. I use this feat. I use this action. I use that in the right order. So mid-maxing damage. That's a board game. It's not a role-playing game.
One of the ways that I've found that you can mitigate that is by putting a large amount of attrition leading up to the encounter. Right. So the way I describe it, I do marathons. I race marathons. And so one of the things about them is I describe them as a 10K by a bunch of exhausted people. Right. So the real trick is to get your players to burn through all their resources that by the time they reach the big bad, they're actually playing without half their shit.
Yeah, I saw some suggestions online on how to deal with that. How you make the monsters come in waves, things like that.
Or you have more encounters along the way. And so you create a situation of scarcity that by the time they arrive at the last encounter, and the reason that also works is because by the time they get that, once they go through it once or twice, they start realizing that using all of your spells on the first encounter to end it quickly may or may not have been the best decision you could make.
Yeah. Well, that's pretty much tactics for 1st edition too. It's all about resource management, which includes spells.
It is possible to do that, but you have to work at it. It's not as straightforward. The thing I liked about this encounter is that it's obviously not the case that two 3rd level rogues and a 3rd level monk and a 3rd level cleric are going to get themselves slaughtered.
The encounter, what was the encounter called again? Let's look it up.
Or Earth, bring it up as well. Village of Shurnob.
Where is it? Is it here?
It's called Earth Elemental Side Quest.
You actually include like Earth Elemental Priest with Earth Elemental.
Yeah, I incurred Thalsor of the Stone, challenge rating 5, the Stone Golem, challenge rating 4, the Black Earth Raiders, challenge rating 2, and the Mephits.
Yeah, so I remember last time you were on here, we did talk about this encounter and how they almost got wiped out. But
yeah, they were in the middle. Last time they were in the middle of it, right?
Oh, so you didn't finish.
Yeah, we didn't finish.
They almost got wiped out.
So what happened was they walked into the encounter, and then thanks to the magic of sneak attack bonuses and so on and so forth, and surprise, they were able to kill 2 of the raiders right away. Right?
Wow.
You can do a lot of damage with 5th edition 2004 rules.
I can imagine.
And so that's okay. The thing though is there was enough bad guys there that with enough area of effect attacks that they were going to learn their lesson.
Yes.
And boy, did they ever.
That's great.
So
well, I'm glad I was able to get a fifth edition campaign a run for their mony. I'm glad that my encounter was able to do that.
Oh yeah, no, they were like freaked out. Like it was like everybody died except for one of them. Like they the God bless, they one of their characters died horribly. So one of their characters managed to, again, because of speed factors, they were able to drag their dead comrades out and raise them. But one of their dead comrades was trapped, his body was captured by Thalsor. Now, Thalsor had a plan, right? Now, he was down to the stone golem, one of his black raiders, and himself, right?
Yeah.
And he wanted these guys to come get them. So he screamed out that if you don't come here and surrender and, blah, 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 I'm going to mutilate this body and you'll never be able to raise this priest. right? Raise dead requires the body to not be mutilated according to 5th edition rules as written.
Okay.
Otherwise, you have to resort to resurrection spells, which
Yeah.
are 50,000 gold pieces.
Yeah, a long rest will heal anything.
Yes, but it will not heal death.
Oh,
Right.
so that's good that somebody died. I like that.
No. Granted, it was the NPC, but whatever. It was the NPC, but it was a choice. They had to choose who was going to die, right? The one guy who was alive had to choose. Did he take a 50-50 chance that the other player's character died on the last death save, or does he try to save the cleric?
So did you have the gift of beauty there? They
No,
had it?
I don't. I haven't decided yet.
Yeah, don't. They handed it off already. In fact, didn't we discuss that before?
Yeah, that's
Loreth
my.
hit them?
Yeah, so the thing is, it's already near wherever it really is. Near Ostberg, isn't that where it's supposed to be?
No, well, the campaign is 2 weeks later when the players finally get down there. So 2 weeks ago, the Earth Temple raided the Gift of Beauty with the helps of any kind of humanoid group that you want. I chose the Knolls because the Knoll King and the Knoll Fort is right like 5 miles away in the Lower Mill Mountains. So Loreth has a relationship with those gnolls. That's why Loreth has gnolls in his dungeon in the Moat House.
Right.
He got them from somewhere. He got them from that king. He went to that king and they made a deal.
Right.
They're collaborating to help raid the Viscounty. And so Loreth is really good, close connection with the king of the gnolls. So, and also to make him look good in the Greater Temple, he also got the gnolls to contribute guards for also the hunting cabin and also in the Greater Temple. So all the gnolls in the Greater Temple, in the hunting cabin, and the waste and the station there outside of the Moat House is all his gnolls that he's responsible for recruiting them. So anyway,
I put the chest.
So that means what I did is Loreth, the Earth Temple with the gnolls got the chest. And then like 2 weeks ago, players take a while to get down there and, to get the quest and all that. So the quest went north up along the border of the Lort Mill Mountains, along the foothills of the Lort Mills going north. And they ended up at the Earth Temple Outpost. Earth Temple Outpost, I'll bring up the map here for you. Mm-hmm. Show maps while we're talking. Okay.
All right. So they find a note that it's not here.
Okay, so you see my cursor. That's where the Gift of Beauty in the main campaign is hit. You don't have to hit it there, but that's where the Living Greyhawk module says that. So they came up along the Lort Mill Mountains, and let me get the DM section open. This is the DM layer. This place right here is Jagged Fang Knoll Fort on screen here. It's right there at the base of the Lort Mills. The Knolls and the Earth Temple went up past this fort, past Gallows Corner, past Sheer Knob, and they ended up here. They ended up at the Sacred Stone Monastery. It's an abandoned stone monastery in the Cron Hills. They took it over. It's almost like ruins. And they're using it much like Loreth is doing with the Moat House. The Romag of the Earth Temple has his raiders there. And they got wind. They're raiding up and down the Long Road. And so they saw the delegation from Rayo and Valuna and Viscounty of the Gift of Beauty go by them south down that long road towards Selene. So they followed them and then waited to the right opportune moment to hit them, take that Gift of Beauty and some prisoners, by the way. One of those prisoners is in the other module, Noble Ambitions. And so they took the Gift of Beauty up to the Sacred Stone Monastery. So the thing about the Gift of Beauty is the chest itself is very powerful. It's in the hands of evil. They can sacrifice it into the nodes or the altar, and it's a huge divine symbol of power. I mean, it means it's more than just a magic item of pluses and minuses in D&D terms. It's more along the divine level because they put their heart and souls and divine energy into these gifts in the chest. Is going to use it, obviously. He took it, so he's really happy about that. He gets it to the monastery, and ultimately he would like to get it to the Nulb, where the Temple of Elemental Evil is. Or he could use it there it's another Earth Elemental Temple in there too, in that monastery. There is another temple in there with an altar. So it's a matter of whether he's going to use it there to sacrifice, but you'd probably rather use it in one of the nodes. But in your campaign, what I suggested is Loreth heard about this. So Loreth hit them or raided that monastery, took the Gift of Beauty. Now Loreth has it.
Oh, Loreth already has it.
There you go.
I'm also thinking that they actually will go find it. Lareth's plan is to have them go raid it. And if they get it, great. And if they don't get it, they're weaker so that they can come back later and he can come back and attack it later.
Well, if players are working for Loreth, might ask them to help him do this.
They're not working for Lareth, but Lareth needs somebody to get rid of the Earth Temple that he has plausible deniability about.
Yeah.
Right.
So there's a problem.
So he doesn't want to engage in open combat. So having a group of heroes, having a group of adventurers.
Well, there's a problem. Depends on who your players are. So Hearn, the hunter on YouTube here, he said, my paladin always does last rites on the big bads to make sure they stay dead. But what I wanted to point out is he has a paladin. So if your group has anybody like that in their group, it's going to be really hard to do this subterfuge trickery.
No, this is part of the thing that we set up for this campaign. I said if they wanted to do 3 rogues, like 2 rogues and a monk, they had to do subterfuge. And to be fair, in the previous campaign we were in, that's what they like to do. They don't like to go charge into combat and blow things up. They find that boring. They like to invent tricks, traps, techniques, skills, ways. Like they like to see how to break the game, so to speak. Like, what can I get away with? What can I invent?
Well, honestly, that's the kind of group that will succeed in Nulb. Because if you get a group full of paladins and clerics and rangers, and they go in like big old heroes, if you see the module, there's level 10 characters there, level 13 characters.
Yeah, and
not just them. It's not just one guy in a dungeon ready to fight you. It's not him and just a couple of guards. It's a whole organization of brigands and bandits and pirates and guards and so much going on in Nulb that they could actually leverage their collaboration with each other too to take you down.
Yes.
It'd be horrible. It would be a total slaughter if the players walked into town with a bunch of bandit prisoners. So with Loreth on his head on a stick.
I've already.
Who's the boss here?
No. So I made it clear that this has got. So what happened was, so they managed to escape, right? And so they're saying we're going to leave. I go, well, I tell them, look, Falsor now knows who you are. Right? Do you really want him telling his bosses? And they're like, shit, we need to go back and kill this guy.
Did you ask me the question? We talked about that concept of players being protected from the big bad guys?
Yeah.
And what was the word?
Invisibility. Nobody
knows. What was the word to
to
protect your players against the big bad guys? There was a word for that. I was forgetting that word. I had a contest last month about it. I told you about it.
What we talked about was you don't want the cult to know you exist.
Yeah. If Sauron of Lord of the Rings doesn't know you exist, he can't come and kill you. See what I mean?
So I took advantage of that. So they're about to leave, and I go, "You have a problem now." And they go, "They're 15-year-old kids," and so I tell them, "Look, Thalsor has bosses. Do you really want him to reveal who just blew up his operation?"
Yeah.
Right.
And so we're not just being jerks about it. In the T1 module, the Village of Hamlet, it does state specifically that if you kill Loreth and you go back to town and start bragging about it and buying everybody drinks and walking his head on a stick around the table, look at him, and start making fun of his face, he's going to get back to Nulb and they're going to send a 10th level assassin to kill you. That's directly quoted from the module.
And if you actually look at assassination tables in first edition, that was like a 97% chance of assassination.
So same thing with Loreth and the temple. So Senshok is a 13th level wizard. Hedrak, he's a 9th level cleric, and they got a whole bunch of people under them. A lot of powerful NPCs. The Falrinth, I think he's a 13th level wizard or something, and he's got a Quasit familiar. They can summon demons. There's assassins there like Smigmal. There's all the bandits and brigands and pirates in Nulb, and they're all powerful, and they have a whole organization behind them, and they're working the roads, they're working the rivers. And so they have a lot of resources at their command to deal with the petty adventurers. They're a thorn in their side. So if the players get too caught up into being heroes too early in the campaign before their 5th level, they're easy targets to take out and remove. And so they have to protect themselves by not really being considered a real threat or who they are. Their name can't be on anybody's lips. They can't be very recognizable. So they have to be very careful of how they handle the moat house and all the bandits out there.
And they have to not leave any witnesses.
So it doesn't sound like we're going to extreme. So like the first encounter in the campaign when you hit them with bandits, so they're just regular first level adventurers coming down to adventure, and they're getting hit by some bandits and they win, and a couple of the bandits get away. No, the temple ain't gonna give crap about that. They're not gonna react to that. Who gives a shit? Loreth, deal with them, or not. Loreth won't even deal with them. He'll tell his sergeant, what's his face upstairs. He'll tell him to go deal with them. Yeah, it's beneath them. They're not a real threat.
Right, right. So Loreth
has to do something really major. Like a good example is that right here on the map. This stone, that sacred stone monastery. If they go in there and slaughter everybody and desecrate that altar and kill the high priest there or whatever, if the Temple of Elemental Evil is really aware of these players, exactly who these players are and where they're hanging out at, they're going to send some forces to take them out. So they have to be really careful at that point where they become too successful and start taking out some of these outposts. And that the real hard clues get back to the temple. The temple aren't going to sit around and do nothing. They're going to send probably their bandits, leaders, their captains.
What I have to remind my players is that at the end of the day, you better make sure that people think it was Loreth who was responsible.
So, I've never had anybody kill Loreth before. They've always ran away or get killed by Loreth. That's why I made this article right here about his victory speech. So I have a bunch of dialogue of Loreth, what he says to them. During combat, he says stuff to him. During casting his spells, he just says stuff to him.
I don't think Loreth is stupid enough to stick around. If Loreth suffers enough critical defeats.
But I didn't make any dialogue of him making friends with him. I didn't do that.
So to me, it was not about making friends. I thought to myself, you're the evil lord and you don't trust these guys and you're convinced they're probably not on your side, but you have another problem.
Well, I don't mean friends, but...
To me, it's like he's not allying with them. It's not that he believes they're actually working for him. It's not like he trusts them. He doesn't trust anybody. Yeah. But like if somebody walked into your office and said, hey, I could solve a problem for you and there's plausible deniability, the only people who know that he's working for them is Loreth and the sergeant.
Actually, doesn't it say in the Mo House, the T1 module, that if Loreth does recruit the players, he'll wait for them to go to sleep and then kill them? I think it says that in the module. I'm trying to find that here. And I don't think I added that here. Yeah. I focused on him winning. I didn't focus on the players surrendering to him and becoming...
They don't surrender to him. That's the important point. They don't surrender to him. They offer to join his organization.
And then the module says if they do that, they wait for him to go to sleep, and he finds it all amusing, I guess. And he kills him. It's not on my page. I didn't put that in here. James said, CNC Assassin does have an insta-kill attack.
All right. He is not averse to gaining new recruits of all sorts and will gladly accept adventurers into the ranks, though he will test and try them continuously.
Yep.
Those who arouse suspicion will be quietly murdered in their sleep.
Suspicion. Got it. Okay. That's it.
Right. So it's consistent with what the thing says. Right now, they're useful.
Well, James joined our YouTube here. He said this Castles and Crusades assassin does have an insta-kill attack upon a successful sneak attack. And then Hearn said, in my experience, the party is its own worst enemy by their own actions bringing trouble to them. That's the truth.
Yep. So yeah, the encounter was intense. It was almost a total party kill. The thing that had it going for them was they had killed enough of the bandit ragers. And Thaslor was all about the power and the evil, but also likes to be alive.
I like to be alive.
Right. I mean, like these evil guys, it's not like they want to die. I mean, they want to accumulate power while they're living. Like this is one of the things about like the powerful leaders of cult fanatic organizations are the ones who don't want to die. It's the minions that seem to have a mania for willing to do ridiculous things, which is kind of consistent, right? Anybody who's made it to a level of power figures that the time for him to die in random encounters has gone away. That's for his minions, not for him, right? And they don't have any loyalty to their bosses or to their organization.
Just fear.
Just fear. And
Yeah.
dying is more frightening than the loyal. They are not. They have a temporal notion of fear, right? I'm more afraid of dying right now from you, and I'm happy to betray you 30 seconds later when I'm no longer afraid of that.
The difference is a little different.
I'm just saying, this is not about Lot. This is about Balsor and folks like him. Loreth is much more
Loreth uses more than fear. He has 18 charisma, and he has promise of success, power, loot.
Loreth is in a different league of bad guy, which is what I didn't like about how he's presented. He should be a different league of bad guy. Like, by the time the guys get there, they should have figured out that Loreth has used them. And that not only have they been used, but they've actually helped the Temple of Elemental Evil's most powerful lieutenant to become more powerful. But what I want them to do is, by choosing to work for Loreth, they've actually managed to help the wrong side. Which means they have a burning desire to deal with him. Right?
All right. Well, thank you for joining the Three Orcs live stream. This is David, and I appreciate everybody that came here. We had a guest. His name is Kostadis, and he shared with us his campaign update report, which is really interesting. He's running his campaign a little bit differently than most people do, and I find it really interesting. And he's using the side quests that I have with the modules I have out there and this website to great effect. I'll look forward to talking to you guys again next week with another update and what's going on with the campaign. And I hope to see you guys all either on my Patreon or the Three Orcs Discord channel. You're welcome to join us and talk about this. We talk about it every day and collaborate and work on this project.
Did you enjoy video? Consider tossing support on my Patreon. It's best way to support orcs. If you would like to see more content, subscribe and post comments below. It better not be bad.
Well, thank you. You guys have a good week, and I hope your players enjoy your campaign as much as mine have. Good night.